Detroit won the toss, and as you might suspect, they're going to receive. Neither team is going to defer tonight. So we'll see Stafford right away as Breeze gets loose. Jim Schwartz came to Detroit in 2009, had been for almost a decade the defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans under Jeff Fisher, who may be back at work pretty soon. And Fisher has watched his team go from 2 wins to 6 wins to 10 wins. Thomas Morstead with 68 touchbacks this season. Again, they moved the line up to the 35. Stephon Logan will return the kick. If Morstead allows it, 2/3 of his kicks have not been returned. And Logan angles over into the corner, and he'll down it in the end zone. So Detroit will take over at the 20-yard line as we take a look at their starters.
Matthew Stafford, University of Georgia.
Kevin Smith, Central Florida Knights.
Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech. Nate Burleson, Rainier View Elementary.
Tony Scheffler, Western Michigan University.
Will Heller, Georgia Tech. Jeff Backus, Michigan.
Rob Sims, The Ohio State University.
Dominic Raiola, Nebraska.
Stephen Peterman, LSU Tigers.
Gosh DeSherrillich, Boston College.
Stafford will start from the shotgun from the 20-yard line. Lions with a passingest team in the league this year, and they start with a run here to Kevin Smith up to the 27-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 3.
Well, for Matthew Stafford, nothing seems to have bothered him all season long. He's been in some tough situations. He's brought his team from behind on multiple occasions. Here he is in the dome and smiling and seems to be having a good time.
2nd and 3. A lot of draw plays for Detroit, a lot of them out of the shotgun, as was the last play. This time Stafford's first pass is caught, and it's Calvin Johnson out to the 49-yard line. Calvin Johnson, Megatron, the huge wide receiver, 6'5", 236 pounds, #1 pick in 07, gain of 22.
Well, if you want to bring some pressure, you've got to play one-on-one on the outside, and I haven't seen anybody on the planet yet that can cover Calvin Johnson. Perfectly thrown ball. Going to get a lot of looks out of this Saints team. They love to blitz, but that guy is the great equalizer right there.
Got inside of Tracy Porter. The ball at the 49 on 1st down. And they run Titus Young, the rookie, on an end around, who picks up 9 yards, and he's taken down by Jonathan Vilma.
At the very least, you have to say about the Detroit Lions, they're creative with their running game. They're not going to sit there and just try and pound the football at you. They're going to run reverses. They're going to run little gadget plays. They're going to keep you off balance because they don't want to have to throw it 60 times a game. But it'll be more of the creative variety than the power variety.
Their leading rusher this season was Javid Best, and he got hurt in midseason. And that pass is a quick pass that's dropped by Young. It'll be 3rd and 2, and let's take a look at the Saints defense.
Cameron Jordan, UC Berkeley.
Brian Franklin, Tennessee.
Cedric Ellis, USC.
Will Smith, The Ohio State.
Jolon Dunbar. Tennessee. Roman Harper, Alabama.
Malcolm Jenkins, The Ohio State University. Tracy Porter, Indiana University.
Too many men in the huddle is the flag right here, and that's going to cost Detroit 5 and turn a 3rd and 2 into a 3rd down and 7. Tony Correnti is tonight's referee. So the Lions, who were done in by 11 penalties in their game here 5 weeks ago, had the extra guy in the huddle. The call is made by Correnti, and it's 3rd down and 7.
Usually the quarterback stands outside the huddle, but that time Matthew Stafford didn't see the mass substitution come in. He didn't step out, and they gave up 5 yards.
3 receivers to the left and 1 to the right. And Stafford throws to that solitary figure on the right side, and that is Titus Young, who gets position on Jabari Greer and picks up a 1st down.
One of the things the Saints do so well are these read blitzes, where really they're in man coverage, and yet because they attack so hard at the line of scrimmage, the back has no choice but to stay in and block. So it looks like more people are blitzing than normal. But if they can get this kind of productivity out of the other guys other than Calvin Johnson, they have a huge chance in this one.
Lions with a 5th-ranked offense in the league. The Saints were 1st. The Lions were 4th in scoring. And Stafford throws, and that will be caught. And they go to Titus Young again. Young, a rookie, 5'11" and 175, played his college football at Boise State, and they drafted him in the 2nd round.
Well, Calvin Johnson is going to be the guy that's going to get all the attention. The safety is going to come this way, which is going to leave one-on-one coverage on the backside. As long as you have Calvin Johnson on the football field, you're going to see single coverage across the board against everybody else, especially if they're trying to bring one extra guy in pressure.
Well, he's already targeted because of that coverage on Johnson. He's targeted Young 3 times, 2 completions, and Young also had that end-around run. And there's a toss to Johnson, and Johnson gets some blocking and picks up the 1st down as he takes the ball to the 10-yard line. The Lions, through much of the decade, went out and drafted wide receivers with some success, and then huge success in the case of this man right here. 96 receptions this season, an average of 6 per game and 16 touchdowns, a Lions single-season record.
And he's not just a deep threat. He's a guy that'll come inside. He's a guy that'll block. The best wide receiver in the game right now.
1st and goal, the nose of the ball right on the 10. Drive started back at the 20-yard line, and Stafford throws over the middle, and that is caught by Will Heller, the tight end, for a touchdown. And the Detroit Lions have come down to Louisiana and pretty much say, hey, look, if we have to match you drive for drive, we'll do it.
Just a very traditional Tampa 2 kind of coverage. You drop Jonathan Vilma back, and Heller's just going to help a little bit with the tackle and slip out late. But what an impressive drive by Matthew Stafford. I mean, we talk about playoff experience and all that Drew Brees brings to this game, and Matthew Stafford just made that look easy.
Jason Hanson for the point after. They had 2 rushes, 2 of the first 3 plays, and then 6 passes. And the 41-year-old Hanson bangs it through. So 4 minutes and 2 seconds into the game, the Detroit Lions take the lead in this NFC Wildcard playoff game. Brett Favre has come over from his home in nearby Mississippi along with his wife Deanna to take in the game. No, he's not thinking about getting into uniform before the season is done. Here's Darren Sproles, led the league in combined yardage this season to the 20-yard line. In fact, set an NFL record for combined yardage. So now Drew Brees will go to work with the Lions on top by 7. 11 years in the league, and he's had a lot of good ones, but none like this one. Drew Brees, against the Lions, he's met them 3 times in regular season play with 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. Led the Saints to a 31-17 win 5 weeks ago against Detroit, and he goes to work right now. He's got Sproles and Thomas in the game together. Clean pocket throws, and that's the way it begins with a 22-yard gain to Devery Henderson. Drew Brees picking up in postseason right where he left off in the regular season.
One of the things the Saints have done a little differently, if they've gone to these double wing sets to help their tackles in protection. Over the second half of the season, teams just have not been able to get to Drew Brees, and when he gets time, it is lights out. Averill, you can see Cliff Averill at the end expecting the chip, and it just didn't happen. He still fell down.
Brees from the 42. Great protection again. That line is terrific. Catch made by Jed Collins, and Collins to the 48. Let's take a look at the Saints starters.
Drew Brees, Purdue Boilermaker.
Pierre Thomas, Illinois.
Jedediah Gabriel Collins, Washington State.
Marcus Colston, Hofstra University.
Devery Henderson, LSU.
Jimmy Graham, the U.
Jamon Bushrod, Towson University.
Carl Nix, Hartnell Junior College.
Brian De La Puente, Cal Berkeley.
Jari Evans, Bloomsburg University.
Zach Street, Northwestern University.
And that line as they flash by 3 of the 5 going to the Pro Bowl. And here goes Sproles, who was a tremendous offseason pickup. Free agent as they picked him up from San Diego. He wanted Reggie Bush's old role. Bush didn't want his old role, so Bush goes to Miami. Sproles comes here, 14-yard gain.
First watching Ndamukong Suh try and shoot the gap and get the penetration, but it was Jimmy Graham's block on the outside. Watch this one. You get that kind of shot going against the safety. You get Sproles running up the field. And now we may need to get our calculator out because it looks like these two teams are going up and down the field tonight.
I think you're right. What you said at the top, though, somewhere along the line, somebody's going to make a big defensive play. Then they turn it all. Through the middle goes Chris Ivory to the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at the Detroit defense.
Cliff Averill, Boilermaker.
Ndamukong Suh, University of Nebraska, Portland, Oregon.
Corey Williams, Arkansas State.
Kyle Vandenbosch, Nebraska.
Justin Durant, the real HU.
Stephen Tulloch, North Carolina State University. DeAndre Levy, Milwaukee Vincent High School.
Chris Houston, Arkansas.
Amari Spivey, Iowa.
Louis Delmas, Western Michigan University.
Eric Wright, University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
And that's Marcus Colston, and the ball comes loose at the 18-yard line, and the Detroit Lions have recovered. Justin Durant forced the fumble. And Durant comes away with the ball. Only 6 fumbles during the regular season by the New Orleans Saints. Detroit with the ball back. Saints setting a mark this season. 6 fumbles all year. One by Colston came on opening night against Green Bay, and here it was. Never was able to get it away.
Yeah, just really no excuse. When you're in traffic, you're going to have to tuck it away, and he was trying to carry it with 2 hands.
Now from the 18-yard line, quick drop pass is caught by Calvin Johnson, and Johnson for a 9-yard gain, setting up a 2nd down and 1.
I'll tell you, I'm impressed with Matthew Stafford, just the game that he's calling up there. He sees the one-on-one coverage on the outside. I'm sure it's just the 2 of these guys, a little hand signal of some type. And you have to be careful with Calvin Johnson. Get the ball in his hands. He breaks 1 tackle against the blitz, and you're watching him run in the end zone.
2nd and a long 1 from the 27-yard line. Stafford sets up the screen in traffic, and that's going to be short of the 1st down. That's Pettigrew. Pettigrew did not start tonight's game because he was late to a meeting last week, so Jim Schwartz said he was going to put him down at the start Will Heller, and it was Heller who winds up scoring the touchdown, even though Pettigrew did play on that first series. And Heller this season did not score a touchdown during the regular year, caught only 6 balls. 3rd and 1. Burleson. And Burleson tries to get to the 28-yard line and going to be very close to a 1st down. Some nifty moves, and when it looked like he was going to be stopped for a 3-yard loss, and Tony Correnti is going to bring the chain gang in.
They actually had it set up pretty well, going to come over here and trap, but Junior Gillette makes just enough of contact right there to get a hand on him. Is the only thing that really made it close, and it looks like that elbow was down, just barely made it.
A 1st down as they keep it on the ground. The red contact lenses of Kyle Vandenbosch.
And he plays like he has red contact lenses in all the time. He is perhaps the guy that hustles as much as any defensive lineman in the National Football League.
A lot of red eyes in this town, but most of them are natural. Scott Linehan is the offensive coordinator, coached the St. Louis Rams a few years ago, the head coach there. 1st down at the 28-yard line. To the ground, Smith. Kevin Smith, an interesting story. Played at Central Florida. They worked him to death. He had 450 carries one year down there. Came up to the Lions. Pretty good as a rookie. Got hurt in his 2nd year. And then this year, they cut him. They didn't tender him an offer in March. He was at home, just sitting at home, and he was texting Martin Mayhew, the general manager, saying, hey, look, I'll do anything. I'll come play special teams. And then when Javid Best got hurt, they needed the back, they called him. He said, I felt like, I went in for a tune-up in the offseason. Changed the tires, oil, ready again. 2nd and 9. And he throws it behind Smith this time, and it's incomplete. Third and 10.
I don't think anybody from the Lions is going to throw any punches tonight after all the mistakes they made the last time these two teams got together. There's the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints on the defensive side, Jonathan Vilma. He is allowed to make changes in a way to this defense, he and Malcolm Jenkins, the safety, that is almost unheard of in the league. He is the Peyton Manning along with Jenkins. They can do whatever they want. They are allowed to make audibles. Greg Williams gives them full freedom on the field.
It'll be 3rd and 9, and the Lions will take a timeout with 6:09 to go in the quarter. 7-0 Detroit. Now after the timeout, it's 3rd down and 9, and Stafford throws over the middle and finds the open man. That's Brandon Pettigrew, the tight end, at the 39-yard line. A first down after the timeout. That's the play they call right down the seam for 22 yards.
Well, we talked so much about tight ends in the league this year, and teams have simply been wearing defense. Switch off on the interior line. This Detroit Lions offensive line really much better than they get credit for. 10th as far as sacks per attempt. Pretty good for a line that didn't get a lot of credit in the last few years.
From the 49-yard line, Stafford, look at the job that line does right there, and then it's incomplete. Calvin Johnson, who will always get position on almost anybody when you're 6'5" and 236, got inside Harper. The pass off his hands. 2nd and 10.
The Detroit Lions hit 4 long pass plays last time, and look how deep these safeties are playing this time. Their defensive coordinator Greg Williams said, if anybody gets one thrown over their heads this year, I'm getting rid of you. This was one that the Saints defensively have given up more than any defense in the NFL. Long plays, and the Lions are going to take their shots with the great Megatron down the field.
He reminded them all week to back up with a couple of adjectives in there, too. 2nd and 10. Here's Kevin Smith, and he can't get out of the backfield as Roman Harper up at the line of scrimmage to make the stop. 3rd and 11.
We're talking about another guy who doesn't get enough credit. Roman Harper, leading tackler on this team, and this is why. He also has 7.5 sacks. He has just a sneaky way of getting down at the line of scrimmage, takes out the pulling offensive lineman and makes the tackle. What a great play.
Third and 11. Saints showing blitz. They send one extra man. Stafford off his back foot. Getting position on it for the moment was Johnson, and the pass is incomplete. Jabari Greer with the coverage, and Detroit will punt.
I don't think any quarterback has more confidence in any receiver than Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. He saw the blitz. He pointed to him before the play even took off. He saw the pre-snap alignment, and if you're going to do that, they'll almost tell you, we're going to throw it up deep to Calvin Johnson.
Ben Graham to punt. Darren Sproles hoping that he can run this one back. And he'll have a chance, but right there to stop him in his tracks is John Wendling, who leads the Lions in special teams tackles. Case in point right there. 7-0 Detroit.
It really is.
Ndamukong Suh was suspended the last time these two teams met for 2 games. That stomp on Thanksgiving Day. Luis Delmas did not play either. He's back after 5 games with a knee injury, and that should make a big difference. The other guy who was missing was Chris Houston. So 3 starters were missing that night. They're all in there tonight, and Sproles goes to the outside for a gain of 1, tackled by Lawrence Jackson.
Now let's talk about those guys a little bit. Ndamukong Suh, just 4 sacks on the season, had the suspensions, had other things happen to him this year, and Gunther Cunningham, his defensive coordinator, went to him this week and said, listen, just relax. Don't press. Just get up the field and make plays like you always do. Don't worry about it. And Ndamukong Suh hugged him after the conversation. He was truly feeling the pressure. The production was down, and he feels like he's ready to go here tonight.
Can he put the heat on through the middle and get Brees uncomfortable in the pocket? That's what Brees loves to do. He gets all the way back, and then he steps up into the pocket, shoots one over the middle, and that pass is incomplete for Jimmy Graham. But that is really his comfort zone right there.
Yeah, and for the Detroit Lions in their secondary, Jim Schwartz basically said to us last night, the reason that we're the 6th seed and not the 5 seed is simply that our defensive secondary was terrible against the Green Bay Packers last week. They get Delmas back, and everybody you talk to says he is absolutely the key guy. They talk about him. He plays like Ed Reed and leads like Ray Lewis.
Saints have been sensational on 3rd and long this year. And that is caught, and that's Pierre Thomas bouncing his way for a first down. The Saints converted more 3rd and long, 3rd and 10 or more, a higher percentage of the time than the league average 3rd down, period. And they do it again here.
I'll tell you, that was all Thomas right there, just picking that up. They get across, the screen looks okay, but it's 3rd and 10, you feel good about it, and then Thomas makes a move and gets his head down and picks up that first down. Defensively, you're disappointed on that one. They should have been able to make that stop.
Tulloch could not make the tackle. Under 3 to go in the quarter. And Brees has to step away from the pressure to the outside to Graham, the sensational tight end in his 2nd year in the league, and what a splash he has made. Tackled by Eric Wright, 2nd down.
Well, the one guy that did have an impact in the game last time was Nick Fairley right here. He's going to get good pressure on Brees inside this time. The Saints love to help on those outside pass rushers, and the Lions really feel like if they're going to win this game, it's going to be with their defensive tackles inside Corey Williams and Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. Here's a look at the help they're going to give to the outside pass rush.
Fairley, the #1 draft choice, put a big premium on that defensive line, and then the pass is caught by Colston for a first down.
One of the things that I think makes the Saints so tough to stop offensively is they have guys they can move inside and out. Jimmy Graham can play wide receiver, the tight end, as easily as he can play tight end. Marcus Colston comes inside and plays like a tight end. They move people around. They end up with big athletic people on smaller linebackers or safeties, and Drew Brees is just so accurate it's hard to defend.
Well, they've got that, and they've got a running game too. Last year they didn't have a running game. The primary reason they lost in Seattle in the wildcard game. This year 6th in the league in rushing. Pierre Thomas is the running back. Case in point right there. First down and a lot more into Lions territory to the 35-yard line, and that's what they didn't have at the end of last season. They went into the playoffs. They had no running game at all. Here's 31 yards for Thomas.
Well, they're going to fake the reverse on the backside, and then Sammy Lee Hill, the nose tackle, is just going to get washed down. But they took Willie Young, a defensive lineman, and stood him up at inside linebacker, trying to give the Saints a different look. And I think all it did was confuse the Lions.
Now Darren Sproles comes into the backfield from the 35-yard line. Sproles. And Sproles, before he gets upended, picks up 9. When you say lead the league in combined yardage, you mean rushing, receiving, kickoff returns, and punt returns together. And Sproles set an NFL record in that category this year.
Yeah, and you wonder what Phillip Rivers is thinking about him playing in a Saints uniform. Drew Brees actually worked out with Darren Sproles during the offseason and used to tease him about how nice he would look in a Saints uniform. And then Reggie Bush left for Miami, and it was full court press from there, and they ended up getting him here, and what a difference he's made.
2nd and 1. You've got Chris Ivory now, the running back. Off play action. Brees has time. Checks off underneath to Jed Collins, and that will be a first down as Collins takes the ball to the 13-yard line.
Well, this is that classic bootleg throwback play that the Saints love to do, but it wasn't there, and Brees still made it work.
And that'll take us to the end of the first quarter with the score Detroit 7, New Orleans nothing. And this wild card playoff game continues after these messages. In New Orleans, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya. Wild card Saturday. Houston already advancing. They knocked off Cincinnati earlier. Now Detroit trying to win a trip to Green Bay, and the Saints trying to win a trip to San Francisco. 1st and 10 as we start the second quarter. Chris Houston is out in the secondary for Detroit. Alfonso Smith is in, and this is Sproles picking up 6 to the 5-yard line.
Let's show you what we're talking about, the mastery of Drew Brees here. They love doing these bootleg throwback kind of plays over here. So they'll bootleg away. The Lions were all over it. You can see the coverage perfect back here. What you don't see is out on the front side, probably the 3rd or 4th different option is Jed Collins, the fullback, who turns it into a 15-yard gain.
Ball spotted at the 6-yard line to make a 2nd down and 5. Chris Ivory is the running back. Instead, they hand it to Henderson on the end around. Devery Henderson puts his head down, gets tackled to the 3-yard line by the corner Eric Wright, and that will set up a 3rd down.
Well, that's a big-time play by Eric Wright. He's getting blocked on the outside by a good blocker in Marcus Colston, and he's not a big guy. Tail end of this thing, it looked like it was going in the end zone with the speedster Henderson going out there. And somehow Eric Wright ends up making the play in the tackle and giving his team a chance on 3rd down now. Remember that play if they hold him here.
3rd and 1. Inside handoff. And getting into the end zone is Darren Sproles. Stopped initially behind the line and just kept on chugging. And Darren Sproles takes it into the end zone to cap an 89-yard, 11-play drive.
Lawrence Jackson is going to dip inside, and Sproles just too quick. Just takes it and bounces it back to the outside. Really, as the edge rusher, you have to maintain the contain. He did not that time.
Now 42-year-old John Casey, who had retired and was back in North Carolina when he got the call at the beginning of the year after the injury to Garrett Hartley, with the extra point. So we're tied. It's Detroit 7, New Orleans 7. Early second. Of course, the Lions fans know all about this. Postseason, in the 50s, they had 5 wins. They were a real good team. 3 NFL titles. That's the pre-Super Bowl era, obviously. In the 60s, 0. Didn't win a postseason game in the 70s, nor the 80s. Won 1 after the 91 season against Dallas and didn't even get to the playoffs in the 2000s. So here they are, 1 playoff win in 53 years, tied at 7. Stephon Logan running back the kickoff, and a good return from Logan out to the 36-yard line. And a flag.
During the return of the kick, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 89. 10-yard penalty, and it will be 1st down.
That would be Will Heller. Now William Clay Ford is here tonight. He's been the longtime owner of the Detroit Lions, owner and chairman, helped to get Ford Field built, and watching his team trying to win that very elusive 2nd playoff game over half a century. Jim Schwartz in his 3rd year. Lions are one of the 4 teams in the league that's never even been to a Super Bowl, even though the city has hosted 2 of them, including one that Mr. Collinsworth played in his rookie year.
But I'm still trying to forget.
Just checking on the spot.
Is correct to the 14-yard line.
All right, now Detroit gets backed up, and they'll start from the 13. Dominic Raiola in his 11th year. The left tackle Jeff Backus in his 11th. Each of those guys seeing their first postseason action. Stafford with a very clean pocket, and that's Johnson right down the middle. Tackled by the safety Malcolm Jenkins. It'll be a gain of 18 yards and a first down.
So many different ways to try and double team Calvin Johnson. That time they're going to run the linebacker underneath him and try and double him that way. But it doesn't work. You know, they're just everybody. There's basically 3 guys in coverage against him. And there's Dominic Raiola, who you're talking about, working against Sean Rogers inside.
Smith, and 5 yards for Kevin to the 36-yard line. Following Jeff Backus. Backus out of Michigan, Raiola out of Nebraska. And they've been with the Lions the entire decade, and finally, they get to see a postseason game. And this, of course, they were part of the group that was 0-16 in 08.
And Dominic Raiola, the guy that makes all the line calls up front, matching wits against Jonathan Vilma and Greg Williams on the other side. The Saints love to blitz, and it is a good matchup between those two.
They rush 5. The pass is caught on the outside by Burleson, but it's a tackle by Jabari Greer, who is right there, stopping him in his tracks. Gain of 1, 3rd and 4.
The Saints have struggled to get pressure, so now they're starting to bring defensive end types in here. You got Martez Wilson. They'll use him as a down lineman in this game. They'll use him inside. They're just trying to create some additional pressure on the Detroit Lions that they weren't able to get the first game.
3rd and 4. Quick toss over the middle, and that's caught by Tony Scheffler. So they've got Pettigrew and they've got Scheffler, the 2 tight ends. Scheffler, good pass receiver, and Will Heller, the 3rd tight end, is the man who scored the touchdown earlier.
You'll see nobody in the middle of the field, so that means there's going to be one more guy blitzing than you can block. Matthew Stafford realizing it and has to get the ball out quick. He's been able to do it. That makes defensive coordinators back off as much as anything when you can hit that pass against that blitz.
And Vilma just did get a piece of it to alter the flight of the ball, but the pass was caught, and it's a first down at the 44-yard line. Big hole for Smith. And Smith takes the ball into Saints territory to the 46, tackled by Vilma.
Inside, Dominic Raiola, the center right here, working against Abrea Franklin. And that matchup so key, because if Dominic Raiola can just give this team an opportunity to run for 4 or 5 yards a carry occasionally, that's what sets up the pass protection. Raiola telling us last night, it's so key for us to hit a few runs so we're not just seeing constant blitzes on every play.
And 2nd and 1, and the pass is caught back shoulder by Burleson, getting position on Tracy Porter, and that will move the chains.
Well, you're going to see these one-on-one matchups against Nate Burleson and Titus Young all night long. Nate Burleson, the last time these two teams played, was called for 3 pushing off penalties, pass interference. That time you saw he got his hands nowhere close, made a clean catch, and a big play.
Gain of 21. Ball at the Saints 26-yard line. Tied at 7. 10 minutes to go in the half. Blitz. Stafford throws, and it's incomplete. Coverage on Young by Greer. It'll be 2nd down and 10. One thing about Greg Williams, he's known as Dr. Heat, loves to call himself Dr. Heat, has for years. He will rush 6, he will rush 7, but on the other side of the coin, he rushes 3 more than anybody in the league.
Yeah, he rushed 3, but one of them was Sean Rogers, and he just ran over Dominic Raiola. Watch this. Sean Rogers just buries Raiola, and somehow Stafford still gets it out of there.
Asked Raiola last night, who's the best lineman you faced? He said Sean Rogers. There you go. 2nd and 10. Screen to Smith. with room to run, and a first down for Smith before he gets taken down out of bounds by Roman Harper.
Well, this is really Kevin Smith's style of game. He is not going to be running it 20-25 times during the course of the game. But so many times the New Orleans Saints defensively, they want to drop 8 guys back into coverage, especially down here on the goal line. And Stafford and the coaches made it very clear if they do that, screens, check downs, they're going to be patient. They're not going to give the Saints anything in this one.
Stafford to the end zone, and it will be caught by Johnson for the touchdown. Calvin Johnson gives Detroit the lead again.
You got 2 guys right here, and you're just going to split the 2 of them. And the cornerback, Patrick Robinson, was concerned about that little wheel out route by Nate Burleson, but you better check where number 81 is first. And because of his ability to get up high and make those plays, there's almost no way to defend that play.
Hansen for the point after. Well, they saw Johnson 5 weeks ago. They held him to 69 total receiving yards. He already has 74 tonight, and Detroit leads by 7. Mississippi River bending its way through the Big Easy on this Saturday night. Not so easy right now in the Big Easy for the Saints. They're down 14-7. And New Orleans will begin its next drive from the 20-yard line. From the 20-yard line on first down, Chris Ivory is the back, and Ivory picks up a yard and a half. Well, we're down to 11 teams right now because the Bengals are done. The Texans advance. It's so funny how the Saints are the 3 seed, and yet a lot of people right now think that the Saints will be the team to beat in Indianapolis.
I don't think there's anybody in Detroit that's thinking that right now, because the Detroit Lions have come out here tonight, and we knew it. When we watched this game the first time around, it was not a physical mismatch. The Lions can score with these guys, and they're one of only a handful of teams that can.
And the Lions were down by 17 at one point in that game, got up to within 7, were driving, and they were done in by penalties. And this is Colston who makes the catch and then takes a shot, with Wright knocking him to the turf after he picks up the first down at the 31-yard line.
Marcus Colston is having a rough go of it inside so far. He's got the 1 and the fumble. Now he turns out, makes the catch, and pays a heavy price for it. Protection inside. 3 Pro Bowlers on this offensive line for the New Orleans Saints. And the Lions felt like if they could do anything, it's maybe get pressure inside, but you're talking about 2 of the best guards in the game.
Breeze on first down, and that pass is caught by Jimmy Graham, tackled by Delmas, gain of 5.
You know, one of the interesting matchups in this one is Carl Nix and Ndamukong Suh. They were teammates at Nebraska, and so we were expecting to get some warm and fuzzy kind of stories, you know, playing against each other, maybe going out for a beer, hanging out. You don't think these 2 guys like each other too much.
Got a couple of grunts.
Yeah.
Second down and 4. Wow. And that's caught by Graham. And Jimmy Graham gets twisted out of bounds, moving the chains.
I'll tell you, this is going to be a good battle. Louis Delmas covering Jimmy Graham, and he is all over him here. But Graham, as he's done all season long, just makes a spectacular catch on the outside. We've talked about it before. These tight ends have just been so remarkable this year. Gronkowski barely beating out Graham for the most yards. Brandon Pettigrew was number 3 on the list for tight ends this year.
From the 45. Breeze, a little floater to Pierre Thomas. And Thomas on his feet, breaking tackles, takes the ball to the 42-yard line.
Well, first of all, you got to start with Pierre Thomas's run. He looked like he was dead after about 3 yards of this one. Not sure how he escaped.
Breeze threw a little teardrop to him.
Oh boy, right. Kind of reminds you of the Super Bowl run there a little bit. And on the inside, Jari Evans just took Ndamukong Suh by the head and slung him to the ground.
That's a gain of 14. Sproles in the backfield now with Breeze. And here's Darren swinging to the outside, and then he gets spun down by Spivey. Gain of 5. Let's check in with Michelle.
Well, talking about Nix and Suh, when Nix was recruited at Nebraska, Suh was his host. But talking to both of them, as you said, they didn't hit it off back then. They never really did. Nix told me he respected Suh. He said, I'm trying to be politically correct. Offensive and defensive guys don't like each other. Suh told me no hard feelings, and you know what? Nick said if Suh tried anything like that stomp against the Saints, the results would be a lot different now.
Yeah, I said there were a couple of grunts. I meant they grunted when they were talking about each other. 2nd down and 6. And the pass is incomplete. Willie Young comes in to bust up the play. And just for the moment, it was Colston who was down on the ground, and Breeze went over to make sure he was fine, and he is.
A fumble on the field. Recovery by Detroit. First down.
Whoa! So Breeze, was his arm coming forward here?
It was coming up and over the top, but Willie Young had a good shot. Oh, the ball came out. He got his hand on the ball, got the empty hand coming forward.
Right, and that's why Breeze went up to Colston. Colston was down, and Breeze was trying to get him up because Breeze may have known they were going to call this a fumble, at which point he just wanted to get that next play off before there was a challenge here. And there was Schwartz with a challenge flag ready.
And Al, it's the first time all night they haven't given Zach Strief any help. We've been talking about the chips with the backs and the tight end. They left Strief alone one-on-one on one occasion. He's the guy they wanted to attack, and they got it done.
And Peyton saw the replay as well, and there's nothing for him to challenge now. The ball is at the 38 after the turnover. And Stafford will throw, and that one is too high and behind Tony Scheffler. So already 2 turnovers for the Saints tonight.
Well, the one guy that I really do think you have to help on this offense is Zach Strief, the right tackle. And it was the first time tonight I've seen them not help him. They tried to get the ball out quickly, and that was fumble number 2 already here in the first half for the New Orleans Saints.
Only 6 in the 16 regular season games. Over the middle on 2nd and 10. That pass is caught by Brandon Pettigrew to the 44-yard line. Let's go back to the play again with Breeze. Arm coming forward with the Lions recovering the ball. And, of course, and there goes Breeze, and the ball is loose. And a timeout is taken here. It'll be 3rd down and 4 after the timeout. 5:14 to the half. Detroit trying to capitalize on the fumble, and we'll go back and look at that in just a second. It's a very interesting component to what just took place. 3rd and 4. Stafford throws, and that pass is behind the intended receiver, Titus Young. If you go back to the play with Breeze, the arm is not coming forward. It's the empty hand. Tony Correnti is the referee. He will throw a beanbag to indicate it's a fumble. But you hear a whistle blown by another official who thought it was an incomplete pass, and therefore Detroit was unable to return the fumble. Here's Ben Graham. And a fair catch is called for at the very last second by Darren Sproles. So Detroit on top 14-7. Look at Matthew Stafford. In any other season, he'd be getting a lot more acclaim. But, you know, in a year when you've got Rodgers and Breeze and Brady doing what they did, kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Stafford went to high school Highland High School in Dallas. Doak Walker went there, and Highland Park High School, and Bobby Lane went there, and Clayton Kershaw, who plays for the Dodgers, the pitcher who won the Cy Young Award, he and Stafford played together in Little League and beyond. Chris Ivory, at one point, in fact, Stafford was the catcher with Kershaw the pitcher. Pretty good battery.
Pretty good. It's a big reason why you see Matthew Stafford's ability to make some of those sidearm throws too. A baseball background.
Number 32 lined up in the neutral zone defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Aaron Berry on the corner was across the line. Quarterback comparison. 2 touchdowns already off the hand of Matthew Stafford.
Tell you the one thing that is happening, though, the Saints are having success running the football. 13 rushes for 109 yards so far. But the New Orleans Saints, they want to throw the football. You can tell by the way the Lions are playing. They're playing back. They're playing cautious. 2 deep safeties, daring them to run it.
1st and 5. Breeze, who completed 71% of his passes this year, hits this one to Marcus Colston up at the 44. That was another of the records set by Drew Brees. 71%, and tonight he is 12 out of 13.
Well, here's what you can't do if you're the Detroit Lions. You can't get buried with your 2 interior guys. The only way you get to Breeze is to affect that area right in front of him. And you can see absolutely nobody there steps up, and he's going to kill you from that spot.
From the 44, Pierre Thomas, the running back. Thomas, the ball carrier, and hello, he runs right into Nick Fairley, who plants him, and 70,000 are screaming for a flag. Fairley, their top pick out of Auburn, was hurt earlier in the season. Came back in the game here 5 weeks ago, and they rotate him in along the defensive front.
There's Nick Fairley, and I tell you, he's picking up right where he left off. Oh, Nick Fairley was on the other side. I'm sorry, but he is the guy that in this game last year, he had a huge first quarter, re-injured his foot, and was a non-factor the rest of the way. But Nick Fairley looks like he's feeling good again.
2nd and 9. Sproles has to reach down to come up with the reception. Covered there by Aaron Berry with 3.5 minutes now to play in the opening half.
Well, the dynamic has changed so much for this Lions defense because they have the 14-7 lead. Now they're able to be very cautious on the back end. They're not getting any of these defensive backs in the one-on-one situations, and Gunther Cunningham is still not happy.
3rd down and 1. And Ivory. And this is a 3rd down play, even though it looked like the ball was right on the line. It was 3rd and inches, and Ivory is able to now move the chains as he takes the ball to the 45, 1st down. Saints this year, we mentioned before how proficient they were on 3rd and long, and then overall 57% of the time, highest in the NFL since the merger back in 1970. You can't get them off the field. From the 45. Sproles. And he gets taken down in the backfield. Sammy Hill, number 91, gets credit for the stop.
Yeah, that's some play by Sammy Lee Hill coming across the formation on that one. Right here is going to shoot across the block of Carl Nix, who kind of gets picked off by Ndamukong Suh on the other side. And now for the Lions a chance, a 2nd and 10.
From the 45, final play before the 2-minute warning. And Breeze throws, and that is caught by Robert Meacham along the sideline at the 36-yard line. Feet down, had possession just short of the 1st down. 1:58 remaining in the half. Detroit 14 and the Saints 7. Breeze has 11 straight completions. He's 14 of 15 overall. The ball is at the 44, and it's 3rd down and 1. And Breeze has to check off and check down, and then the pass incomplete with a flag thrown in the secondary. And now they're going to rule that the pass was caught, juggled and caught at the 34 with a flag in the secondary. And that's Michael Higgins, the backup tight end.
I think you're going to get an offensive pass interference. They were trying a little pick play across the way, and it was pretty blatant.
Detroit better hope, because it was signaled a catch. Correnti to.
There are fouls against both teams on the play that will offset. Holding, defense, number 52. Pass interference, offense, number 81. By rule, these penalties will offset. Replay, third down.
The receiver Higgins on one side and Durant, the linebacker, on the other side.
Well, it was definitely Higgins on the pick play going across the field. And there's the hold right there.
And the clock will start on the snap.
The Lions have been very good in these 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations. One of the best in the NFL this season. Need to convert one here.
3rd and 1. The defensive front so good, so tough to penetrate. And you got a whistle before the snap. And you've got a timeout taken by Detroit. Timeout before the snap. Third and 1. Shows that defensive front. Breeze on play action. Forced out. And then he just has to throw it away. Sue was right there in his face. And Breeze out of the pocket, so there's no grounding, and it's going to be 4th down. Now what?
Dominican Sue right over here is going to get the penetration. They were trying to take that shot play down the field, but you can see how much respect the Saints had for this defense. They were going to throw it on 3rd and 1 instead of lining up and playing a little power football. Of course, don't have Mark Ingram, the former Heisman Trophy, in there right now, but this Chris Ivory is a loaded tailback.
And instead of a 54-yard field goal attempt, they give it to him, and he's able to angle his way for a 1st down. Ivory at 6 feet and 222 on 4th down is able to pick up the first.
We'll put the extra offensive lineman in the game, Pat McQuiston, and just go power right behind him. Right here, just going to take it in. And Chris Ivory, who started the year on PUP, really wasn't going to be much of a factor, but because of the injury to Ingram, he really has become their power back inside. And in this game, converting those 3rd and 1s against this defense, so important.
He wound up as their leading rusher last year, but was hurt when they got the postseason. Final minute of the half. Pass caught at the 32-yard line, and the tackle was made right away on Pierre Thomas, and the Saints will take a timeout. Drew Brees with 15 of 17. Longest play of the night for the Saints has been a run by Pierre Thomas of 31 yards. Longest pass play, 23 yards. They've accomplished twice.
Lions are keeping everything in front of them, though, which is what they had to do tonight. This is a great big play passing team.
2nd and 8. Saints have 1 timeout. Detroit almost jumped. They got back. They did jump. Flag came out. Marcus Colston. That was Cliff Averill. Almost got back. It looked for a second that he would. Flag came out a little bit late. Offside.
Defense number 92 in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
I'll tell you what, the Detroit Lions keep playing that defense like that. They're going to get balls thrown down the middle against them all night long. Stephen Tulloch's going to come up here and jump the back. Watch how clean it is down the middle of the field for Marcus Colston. They hit him for a lot of throws down the middle the last time, and I think they're going to have to adjust that at halftime.
2nd and 3. That pass caught at the 22 and taken to the 17 by Jimmy Graham.
That time Tulloch did go back and left the space underneath, and Breeze read it perfectly and checked it down.
First down. Want to conserve their timeout. Half a minute now to go. Breeze throws underneath. That's caught by Sproles at the 13-yard line, and the Saints spend their final timeout. Two really good young coaches. Jim Schwartz, third year as the head man at Detroit. Sean Payton came here in 06, took him to the NFC Championship game that year, lost to Chicago, and then to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Saints out of timeouts. 21 seconds. Second down and 5. And Breeze to the end zone. It is a flag and a touchdown. Marcus Colston making the catch in the back of the end zone. And the officials conferring. The Lions say wave it off. Did he push off is the question. Pretty good little conference going on right now. Offense or defense?
The question is, did he catch it? Going to the ground, the ball comes out. That's going to be incomplete.
Right, for starters.
The field was ruled as a touchdown.
Well, it's ruled a touchdown, but it gets reviewed upstairs.
Contact with the head of the receiver. Defense.
Right there, that ball is out.
We'll carry over the kickoff.
Remember, you have to catch it, going to the ground, maintain control all the way throughout the catch, and for Marcus Colston, a tough night continues.
This play will go under review.
Personal foul against Pavey. If it is ruled a touchdown, it'll be assessed on the kickoff. Instead, they'll take a look at it upstairs. Correnti goes to the hood. So Tony Correnti checking it out. We think it's going to get overturned. Took a good look at it before we went to the commercial break. Here it is again.
Well, just perfectly done and brilliantly thrown by Breeze, but as Colston goes to the ground, the ball comes loose, hits the ground. I don't think there's any question at all. That's incomplete.
But they'll assess the penalty now when they put the ball back into play instead of on the ensuing kickoff had it been ruled a touchdown.
But for Stephen Tulloch, again, he has to get deeper on those plays because with the height advantage the Saints have, they're going to throw those up to Colston and Jimmy Graham down here on the goal line all day long.
So when play resumes, you're going to have 16 seconds.
And no timeouts. And 16 seconds is definitely borderline if you catch a pass short of the goal line, being able to stop the clock.
Again, the foul was on Spivey, a hit to the head. A personal foul. Here comes Correnti.
After reviewing the play, the receiver did not maintain possession of the football. It is an incomplete pass. However, penalty on the play against the defense for contact to the head of the receiver will be enforced from the previous spot. It will be New Orleans ball, first down and goal at the 6 1/4 yard line.
Because it was at the 12.5.
There's Spivey's hit. Okay, so a slap to the helmet.
And that takes it.
Whatever. I wish I played in this era. That was a vacation hit right there when we played.
You wish you played because of the zeros on those paychecks.
That's a good point. Almost have to throw it in the end zone. Don't want to take a chance on the clock running out here.
First and goal. They don't have a timeout. 16 seconds. And now Detroit's going to take a timeout.
Their third and final.
So neither team can now stop the clock. Schwartz wanted to see the way the Saints lined up. And they'll go over how they're going to cover this. Saints at home. We mentioned earlier 8-0 this season. Perfect record. Scoring a ton of points. 41 a game. and almost 500 yards a game. And Drew Brees with 29 touchdown passes in those 8 games. Apart from that, not much.
Yeah, not much. Here's the hard part now defensively for the Detroit Lions. You have to try and take Jimmy Graham and that throw down the middle away, along with Darren Sproles coming out of the backfield one-on-one, probably against Justin Durant over here on this side.
Graham lined up on the right side. Sproles is stacked behind him. Brees dancing around, under pressure. Brees from the 22-yard line throwing, and that is incomplete, and that's going to take us to 8 seconds. So 2nd and goal now with the Saints. You have to take one chance, but you got to get rid of the ball in a hurry here.
First of all, the coverage on Jimmy Graham coming across the field. Durant has him. And then Darren Sproles on the outside. Spivey picks him up. And so Brees was forced to pull it down, and probably lucky didn't come away with a pick on that one. Aaron Berry had a legitimate shot on it.
2nd and goal. Brees, smart as they come. He knows the situation. He throws to the end zone, and it is incomplete. Knew he had to get rid of it in a hurry. Knew he had to get it to the end zone. No time to spike it. Intended for Meacham. And now the Saints will have to settle for a field goal attempt.
With some play inside. You see Brees trying to look off the defense and come back. But it was Eric Wright having none of it. The one thing the Detroit Lions know is that Drew Brees is the master manipulator with his eyes. When he looks away, they're not flowing that direction.
John Casey, as you saw, 111 straight field goals from 30 and in, which is the case right here. Chase Daniel, the backup quarterback, to hold it. And for Detroit, a good stop as they hold them to a field goal, and that takes us to the end of the half. A good one. At halftime, it's Detroit 14, New Orleans 10. On to the second half. In New Orleans we go. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya, NFC Wildcard playoff game. Detroit with a win would go to Green Bay. New Orleans with a win goes to San Francisco. Of course, the Falcon Giant winner winds up in the other city. Hansen to kick off. Saints will get the ball down 14-10. And Darren Sproles, hopeful of getting an opportunity to run this one back as the 3rd quarter gets underway with a line drive kick to Sproles. Takes about 6 yards in the end zone. And Sproles out to the 23. Back we go to that play with Brees in the 2nd quarter. What happens here, and listen for the whistle as well. Brees, pressured, gets it away. It's an empty hand. Clearly it is a fumble, but you hear the whistle, which is why Detroit wasn't allowed to run it back. Now, Sean Payton could not have challenged that because audio is not a part of the replay process. But the reason that the play was blown dead is that one official thought it was an incomplete pass. So it ended the play. The Saints should have had the football. Ball at the 22-yard line on 1st down. And here is Thomas. And Thomas out to the 40-yard line. Spivey makes the tackle.
Here's the bottom line on the blown call. If the whistle blew before the recovery, which it did, the ball should have gone back to the Saints. It did not. The officials thought the whistle blew after the recovery. It did not, so they gave the Lions the ball, but no advance. If the whistle had never blown, which it should not have in that situation, it would have been a Lions touchdown. So there were a lot of things happening there, and a lot of the different teams in that situation got hurt.
But on we go. At the 40-yard line, 1st and 10. Brees. Deep downfield and getting wide open and dropping it is Meacham. Meacham on the outside. Louis Delmas covering on the play, but behind it.
Well, you're going to end up with Delmas on this side, but the safety on the other side jumped the underneath crossing route, so it really put Delmas in a bad spot. But I've seen these Saints receivers make more mistakes tonight than you usually see them make in a month.
Chris Ivory is the running back on 2nd and 10. And through the middle, Ivory, he takes it out to the 40-yard line behind a Jed Collins block into Detroit territory. A gain of 19, first down.
Well, one of the things that's happening now to Ndamukong Suh, he's getting up the field so aggressively. They're just using it against him and pushing him down, which is creating some huge running lanes to the inside. Right now, the Saints' greatest success is coming running the ball. It's hard for them to stay with it. It's not their personality, but I think you're going to see them continue. That's probably the adjustment they made at halftime.
120 rushing yards on 16 carries for them. Here Thomas is now the back. And Breeze deep downfield. This time it's caught. Touchdown, Devery Henderson to give the Saints the lead. .41 yards beats Spivey, and it takes them 1 minute and 51 to go up in front.
They're going to come down in short motion, get a clean release, which was the key to the play. And you see Stephen Tulloch trying to get deep, but Spivey just unable to get there. There's really no reason he can't get there. There's nobody else on that part of the field. Breaks late on the ball, and Drew Brees makes him pay the big price.
Casey for the extra point. And the Saints are up by 3 early in the third. Breeze 215 passing yards tonight. And when you take a look at how he has done it, 10 yards or fewer, 5 of 6, 11 of 20, all in the middle, 4 out of 5, 21 plus, 2 for 2.
No, they're playing those 2 deep safeties. They're running the ball effectively, getting the linebackers to step up to play the run, then throwing over the top of Tulloch down the middle.
And Morstead's kick winds up in Metairie. So Detroit will take over for the first time in the second half of the 20, and we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, going into halftime, Jim Schwartz was pretty pleased with the way that his team was playing. Defensively, he said it simply comes down to stopping the Saints' drives. I don't think he was expecting such a quick one right out of the gate. As for Sean Payton, well, he looked at those 10 first-half points and thought the only reason we were stunted was the 2 turnovers. He seemed confident if they took care of the football, they could score a lot more points, Al.
Right, very unusual, Michelle, because those 2 turnovers coming on those fumbles after they fumbled only 6 times all season. From the 20 now, Stafford. And he throws, and that's caught for a 20-yard gain by Calvin Johnson. Going up in the air at 6 feet 5, first down.
They're trying to do these unusual looks now. They're going to run this corner back here to play safety, but he ends up falling down on the play. And so Calvin Johnson gets a free ride to the outside. And again, throwing the ball high, getting some elevation on it. Makes it so tough to stop.
6 catches, 95 yards for Calvin Johnson. Smith, nothing. Stuffed as he crosses the line of scrimmage. Second down and 9.
Well, for Matthew Stafford, one of the keys tonight when you're playing against a blitzing team is get the ball out of your hands quickly. They want to bring pressure, but the more of these kinds of plays you make, the less pressure you end up seeing. And Stafford's done a nice job so far not allowing that blitz to be a major factor.
Second and 9. Stafford throws. Burleson makes the catch, gets necktied. Lion bench wants a flag, and there is a flag. Malcolm Jenkins with the coverage on the play.
Holding, offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty, reaching second down.
Not the flag they wanted. That's the left tackle, Jeff Backus. Nope. Trulis is their number 1 draft choice, the right tackle, is the guy who gets flagged.
I think this is the hold out here working against Junior Gillette. And Junior Gillette has become one of the better pass rushers on this Saints team. I would expect against the Lions we're going to see him a lot tonight.
Second down and 19.
Martez Wilson in there lurking around again.
Titus Young coming around. They fake it to him. And Stafford has nowhere to go with it except the Saints bench. Third and 19.
The Lions try to go with the screen there, but a lot of veterans up front. Sean Rogers and company had that one figured out. Now for Matthew Stafford, you're young, you want to be aggressive, you want to take your shots, but you certainly don't want to turn it over at this point.
Lions no turnovers in the game. Down by 3, third and 19. Stafford over the middle and underneath, and that's Burleson making the catch, and he stopped at the 40-yard line. It'll be 4th and 11. Tracy Porter makes the tackle, and the Lions will punt.
It's amazing how slight leads in this game have changed the game plans defensively. When the Lions had the lead, Gunther Cunningham was afforded the opportunity to be a little more cautious on the back end. Now that the Saints have the lead, they have the same ability.
Ben Graham. Sproles makes the catch at the 12-yard line. Looks for room, finds next to none, and a flag comes in from behind.
It looked like a block in the back, and you're going to see the Saints starting from inside their 10.
During the return of the kick, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 59. This penalty be assessed half the distance to the goal. First down.
Nate Bussey, first penalty on him. Are the Hornets in town? Saints backed up after the penalty, start from the 8-yard line. Pierre Thomas is the running back. And Thomas after the 13. We're talking about that running game. Pierre Thomas providing so much tonight.
Well, here's the key to the game. The Saints have been able to run the ball so effectively that ultimately those two deep safeties are left alone down the middle of the field because their linebackers are forced to step up and play the run. And then they're getting their speedy wideouts, this time Devery Henderson down the middle, and Tulloch just can't get there.
Now Sproles is the back. With a fake toss, and Breeze is going to go down, and that's Averill coming in for the sack. Around the corner he comes to knock him down and set up a 3rd and long.
Really nobody at all blocking Cliff Averill on that one. They come with the stunt right down the middle of the field here. They come with both these guys, and there's nobody there. Sort of a naked bootleg action, but I don't think that was what Drew Brees had in mind. And 3rd down now, and a great opportunity for the Lions to get the ball back with tremendous field position.
Basic 4-man rush. Brees steps away, finds the spot, the open spot, and then hits Colson, who's sliding to his left. They're going to spot the ball apparently up at the 18-yard line, and Correnti says move those chains.
Here's Colson, the inside receiver here, and they send 2 people across, and that time Stephen Tulloch was flying out of the middle, and Drew Brees just playing the high-low game. Let's see if he picks up this 1st down.
They gave him a very good spot.
I don't know about that.
I don't think so either. Ball at the 18-yard line. Challengeable play, but no challenges. Sproles gets taken down at the 15-yard line.
So that's the second key moment for the Detroit Lions, that they got the short end of a call. I think they would have had a touchdown had that inadvertent whistle not happen on the other one. And I think you would have seen the Saints punting on that one.
Second down and 13 now from the 15-yard line. And that's caught. Graham on the outside, and Graham is out of bounds. He keeps on going, but he's out of the 28-yard line. Now they spotted at the 29, and that's enough for a Saints first down.
Well, you just, sooner or later, Jimmy Graham is going to be a major factor. There was no underneath coverage. Devery Henderson took Aaron Berry deep, and that was very close to breaking for Jimmy Graham.
Five receivers go out, and he finds Sproles. And Sproles is out to the 38-yard line, comes up a little bit short of the first, tackled by Durant. It'll be second and inches.
So much of this Saints offense runs through Jimmy Graham and Darren Sproles. There's a little nudge by Darren Sproles we talked about earlier. But when these two guys get it going inside, one is 6'7", one's 5'6", kind of the odd couple out there walking around on the field. But that has been the majority of the offense for this team this year.
And second and 1. And that's broken up by Eric Wright, intended for Meacham. You know, you look at Sproles at 5'6", there are a couple other guys at 5'6". When Sproles was born, he was 10 pounds 2 ounces.
And they called him Tank.
Yep.
But right now, Eric Wright has tank hands, because that had a chance to be a pick six on that one. That was another huge opportunity. Top of your screen, Wright reads it perfectly and can't hang on to it. They dropped 3 interceptions the last time these two teams got together. Give a little credit there to Meacham for getting the ball out.
Now on 3rd and inches. Behind Collins, they give it to Ivory, and he's going to get stuck before he gets to the line of scrimmage. So they put the fullback in, they give it to the big back, Ivory. And they're going to spot the ball a little short, at least of the yellow line. And Kareni may want to bring in the change, and he will, to measure.
You know, Stephen Tulloch does a good job getting up and through the line of scrimmage here and getting underneath Ivory, and this one is going to be very close. It was interesting watching the two officials. Of course, the line judges coming in from either side. The one farthest from us looked like he was going to give him the first down. The one at the bottom marked it short, and I thought that was the correct call.
So you got about 4 links. Now what?
You know, in any other game, you're obviously punting the football in this situation, but with these two offenses, this is a very difficult call, and at the very least, you're going to go take your shot to try and draw them off sides.
Right, hard count him. He's already gotten Averill once. Now it's 4th and inches with 6.5 to go, 3rd quarter. Saints nursing a 3-point lead. Will they really go for it? 4th and inches. Sproles is the back. And they snap it, and Breeze will reach across the line of scrimmage, and forward progress will net him, in all likelihood, the first down.
How about that play?
Wow.
We've seen Drew Brees do everything so far this season. Haven't seen him elevate quite like that. Looked like he was going up for a slam dunk. Offensive lineman do a good job, but look at the extension. Not only a great play, but a pretty courageous play on the part of one of the great quarterbacks in the game. No question about it. Easy call.
They got to start checking the quarterbacks for vertical leap at the combine. Ball at the 40.
Bill Newton can do a little of that too, can he?
Oh, yeah. And Breeze slings it out to the right side. Thomas breaking tackles. And Thomas takes the ball to the midfield stripe. Tackled by Tulloch. Another first down.
Well, one guy we talked about is Kyle Vandenbosch right out here. And his hustle plays, you'll get some example of it here. Almost gets the sack, keeps flying down the field, ends up getting in on the tackle.
42 yards they've gained on this drive have the Saints with 4 first downs. Under 5 minutes to go. Ball at the 50-yard line. 11th play of the drive. And on the outside, that's caught by Adrian Arrington, who's in uniform tonight because Lance Moore is not, and he makes his first grab of the evening.
I'll tell you one thing you cannot accuse Sean Payton of, and that's being scared in big moments. I remember back to the Super Bowl, the onside kick. There you go, 4th and 1. We're going for it. He understands this game's going to be won on the offensive side of the ball. He's not giving it back to Matthew Stafford and company.
He's taking a lot of time off the clock. 6 minutes on this drive already at 2nd down and 3. And Brees slings it, and it is caught inbounds inside the 5-yard line. Marcus Colston. And that's going to make it a 1st down and goal.
On the outside, inside man technique, one-on-one, no help. They finally got him to come out of their 2-deep shell, which is creating some opportunities down the field. Let's see, does he hang on to it? Looks pretty good to me. So for Marcus Colston, a little redemption on that one.
1st and goal now. Ball at the 3. 13th play of the drive, and a quick toss to the outside for a touchdown. Caught by Graham, extending across the goal line, and the basketball player from the University of Miami with a slam dunk.
Yeah, it helps when nobody's guarding you. Lions completely caught off guard, completely out of position. They're scrambling around before the snap of the ball. There's nobody there. Try to fly out there late. That's Bavay. Too late. Same thing was happening on the other side of the field. Brees' eyes got a little big when he saw the defense he was looking at. Got the quick snap out, took advantage.
They go 92 yards, some key 3rd downs early, including a 4th and inches before they got to midfield. The extra point is good. The Saints have their biggest lead of the night with 4 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. Saints 24, Lions 14. 24-14, Saints on top. Thomas Morstead, 2/3 of his kickoffs this year have been touchbacks. Here's Logan, and this one will be as well. And the Lions down by 10 with 19 minutes left in regulation. Mercedes-Benz Superdome, site of this playoff game. Detroit down by 10 from the 20. They begin this drive after a 92-yard Saints drive. And a floating pass looked like it might have been deflected. Flag is thrown. Johnson gets forced out of bounds at the 35-yard line.
Prior to the pass, holding defense number 21. This penalty be declined. The result of the play, 1st down. Declined.
It's a 15-yard gain. Big drive, obviously, for the Detroit Lions here, who led 7-0, who led 14-7. Now the Saints, with that potent offense, up by 10, and they've got to match that last drive right here.
Yeah, but the Detroit Lions, the king of the comebacks this year. What have they had? 4 comebacks this year, 12 points or more, 3 of 17 or more.
Ask Dallas, ask Minnesota, ask Carolina, ask Oakland. 4 of them, 13 or more, including the 24-point comeback in Texas. Stafford deep and laying out for it. Unable to come up with it is Young. 2nd down.
Boy, I tell you, Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, is not afraid. He is coming out with this lead and blitzing, and it's leaving one-on-one coverage on the outside. And that was almost a brilliant catch by Titus Young. He really had control of it, just couldn't maintain control when he hit the ground. We'll see if that near completion backs off Greg Williams a little.
This time Williams' defense, only 3 men with their hand on the ground, creeping toward the line of scrimmage. They send 5, and Stafford throws into traffic, and that's caught by Calvin Johnson, the nearly unstoppable Calvin Johnson at the 45-yard line. First down.
It did not. They came out in a straight cover 1 with only 1 safety in the middle of the field and man-to-man coverage. Everywhere else, that's asking a lot of Malcolm Jenkins. I almost get the feeling that Matthew Stafford wanted to send a thank you note on that play. Thank you for covering that guy in single coverage. Somehow, when it's thrown, he finds a way to catch it.
Even with Jenkins' arm in there. Gain of 21, ball at the 44. Again with a cover 1, they go to the outside, and Scheffler started to look upfield before he caught it. Covered by Porter, 2nd down and 10.
Dominic Raiola, the center, is the guy that makes all the calls up front. You can see him right here sort of waving everybody around. He said he feels so horrible when he makes a call. He ends up swearing at himself sometimes, even after he snaps the ball. If he gives up a blitz, that time he checked into the right one and gave his quarterback a chance.
2nd-round pick out of Nebraska back in 01. Grew up in Hawaii. Pressure on. Stafford going deep. And it is Johnson making the catch, adjusting, slowing down. Had it on the outside, had position on the defenders, and it'll be 1st down and goal. Greer and Jenkins, 2 really good backs, are back there with him. But Johnson, he's just too tough to stop.
Well, you're going to get the double coverage over the top, but they don't care because it really ends up one-on-one. Greer is just the underneath side. But did you see how early Matthew Stafford threw that ball? Once he knew that he had singled up out there, threw it straight up in the air.
42 yards, 1st and goal. And this time he throws it into a lot of traffic, and it's Titus Young making the catch. Dangerous pass, just short of the goal line.
Yeah, they're going to throw it anywhere but Calvin Johnson on this one. This is the old kryptonite defense over here. And even Calvin Johnson knows it's not coming with that defense.
And now you got Stafford's going to try to do it himself with Will Smith making the stop. And it's going to be 3rd down and goal.
Well, the one thing that you know, or at least you wonder about, would they end up making this 4-down territory? Boy, Will Smith anticipated that one beautifully and made the stop.
A minute and a half left in the 3rd.
Remember, the Lions don't have a power running game. For the most part, they don't do much goal line offense.
But they line up in a power formation with the fullback, and that's Will Heller as the fullback. Kevin Smith is the tailback. Rolling out is Stafford. Stafford's going to try to take it into the end zone, and he cannot. It is called a touchdown. Wow, it looked like they'd stopped him just short of going in. They'll review it obviously upstairs, but he reached for the pylon. According to the officials right now,
yeah, I think it's a good call. Yeah. He's going to extend his hand, watch it hit the inside part of the pylon. Was his knee down?
Well, that's the whole thing, yeah.
That's the close part about it.
That's the thing. What comes first? Is the knee down first?
You know, the front one's not, but I'm not sure about the back one.
Well, that's something that I'm sure Corrente's going to have to come over and take a look at.
And how significant is that? If you place it down there, now you're going to end up with 4th down.
Play will go under review.
A big one.
Tony Corrente to make the call when we come back. This is as close as it gets and as important as well. Here comes Corrente.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's a touchdown.
You know, we looked at it, and it's so close. It's almost as if the knee goes down and he hits the pylon. And we'll show it to you after the extra point simultaneously. And what we were looking at is, it had the call on the field been no touchdown, that probably would have stood as well. But they ruled it a touchdown. Hansen now for the extra point. And we'll never know what Schwartz would have done on 4th and a half an inch. And Hansen makes it a 3-point game. So after the Saints had that long drive, Detroit answers with a huge drive. 8 plays, 80 yards, 2 rushes, 6 passes, back to the TD by Stafford.
Yeah, and Carini said that the play was confirmed. So in his opinion, you can see the bending of the pylon there, that it was a touchdown. He saw it as a touchdown as well as what the officials on the field saw it.
So they lined up tight. Stafford rolled to his left and takes it in to make it a 3-point game.
You know, the untold part of that is how about Matthew Stafford taking his team down the field with a drive that he absolutely had to have. This is a team amazingly resilient this year. There have been moments that you want to try to count them out, and you simply cannot.
Stafford, by the way, does not run very much. 22 rushes this year, 78 yards, no touchdowns.
But they came in with that power formation. I don't think they do that maybe 10% of the time. And so when they lined up in it, I was almost thinking, wait a minute now, they're not going to try and overpower the Saints here. And sure enough, come out with the bootleg play, give the appearance of power, and then bootleg out of it.
The 41-year-old Hansen in his 20th year in the league sends it down into the end zone, and the Saints will begin their next drive from the 20-yard line.
One of the keys has been the protection so far for the New Orleans Saints. They're going to do the little nudge package on the outside. They do it on one side with Darren Sproles, Jimmy Graham on the other side, but both of these guys athletic enough to get back out in the route. And then the interior 3 guys are locking down the defensive tackles for the Lions, and that's what's creating opportunities for Drew Brees to get the ball down the field.
I like it. Nudge package.
How about that?
There's a nudge package and a nudge package. From the 20-yard line on first down. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Pierre Thomas. You know, you look back to that regular season game, and even though the Saints led all the way and had the big lead, when you really examined it, Detroit had a lot of opportunities, and tonight they're hanging right in there with them.
Yeah, we talked about it all week long, and I kept watching the tape of the game and thinking, these two teams are pretty evenly matched up here. There were a lot of mistakes by the Lions the last time, a lot of penalties, dropped interceptions, but they certainly had opportunities. And I think that Sean Payton knew it, which was a big reason why he went for it on that 4th and 1.
2nd and 10 from the 20. And Brees fires out to the 27-yard line. It'll be 3rd and short. Jimmy Graham pulls in the pass, and that should take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. Graham tonight with 7 catches for 55 yards. So on to the 4th quarter we will go in this NFC wildcard playoff game with the score New Orleans 24, Detroit 21. And this wildcard playoff game continues after these messages. Good ball game. 24-21, and a big play coming here to start the 4th quarter. 3rd and 2. Saints from their own 28-yard line. Pressure up the middle. Brees sliding away and then throws, and it's caught for a first down. Robert Meacham, and a flag is down. Correnti's been busy tonight.
Illegal use of the hands, hands of the face, defense number 98. This penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
That is Nick Fairley.
One of the things so frustrating about playing Drew Brees is the way he moves in the pocket. Watch this backpedal just to buy a little time. This guy has to clear one more defender. There he is.
Wide-eyed.
I tell you, so accurate and such a great understanding of the game. That was a huge conversion.
They all will be from here on out on 3rd down. First down from the 33-yard line. 4-man rush. That line does its job, and then there's contact on the outside with Sproles and Durant. 2nd and 10. Lions in the playoffs for the first time since '99. They've lost 6 straight, 8 straight on the road. Their last one in a road playoff game, 1957 in San Francisco. One of 4 teams to never play in a Super Bowl. Got the Jaguars, the Texans, and the Browns as well, and they've erased a lot of nevers and would-haves and could-haves and what happens and all of that since Schwartz took over following that 0-16 season in '08. 2nd and 10. And stopped at the 34. In fact, Chris, the last time that Detroit was in a playoff game, their coach was Bobby Ross. They went to Washington. Norv Turner was coaching the Redskins. Barry Sanders had retired the year before. That's the last time they saw postseason action.
I'll tell you, this Detroit Lions team means so much to the city of Detroit. They're bouncing back, and they're watching the Lions bounce back much the same way that the Saints did after Katrina, and that Super Bowl victory just meant the world to the people here in New Orleans. And Detroit's little win streak is doing the same thing in Detroit.
3rd and 8. Breeze hanging in and open over the middle. It's Marcus Colston across the 50, tackled at the 48-yard line of the Lions by Delmas.
Well, they just keep working the middle of the field, and it's almost unfair. They're just coming in here against these linebackers, and they're working Colston in behind them and just unable to stop it. You know, they drop the middle linebacker Tulloch deep. Sometimes they throw it underneath. It's like a yo-yo all night long. They run it, they draw them up, they throw it over the top. They can't get off the field on 3rd down.
Colston has 7 catches for 120. Swinging to the outside goes Chris Ivory. Tackled back at the 50, loss of 2, tackled by Tulloch, who came over from Tennessee, where he played under the defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, at that time.
The Lions are doing a better job against the run in this half than what they did in the first half, and they're creating great opportunities. Seems like this is the 2nd or 3rd in a row of 2nd and 10, and then they get it to 3rd down and something and just can't make that play on 3rd down, not getting the kind of pressure that they had hoped.
So Thomas is the back, but the fullback is Collins on 2nd and 12. And Breeze will shoot it to the outside to Thomas. And Thomas, breaking tackles, takes it to the 40-yard line. Again, busting through would-be tacklers. And instead of having a 3rd and about 6, it's 3rd and 1.
I'll tell you, if there's an unsung hero in this game right now, it's Pierre Thomas. How many times in the game, at least 3 that I can remember, where it looked like he was going to be tackled short and just keeps breaking tackles and making plays.
Well, you'd think right now you're in 4th down territory. The 2 times they've missed on 3rd down, they've made it on 4th. 3rd and a deuce, and the pass is juggled and incomplete, intended for Jimmy Graham. Short drop, Berry with the coverage. Now you've got 2 yards to go. It's 4th down and 2 at the 40.
Give Berry credit, top of your screen. They know what they like to do. If you don't roll that way, they throw the slant to Jimmy Graham, and Berry got his hand in there.
And they're going to keep the offense on the field.
Yeah, this is all about who has the ball last, and you just don't want to give it to Matthew Stafford. I totally agree with this.
4th and 2. Toss to Sproles. To the outside he goes, and he's got the 1st down. Durant got there, but a shade too late. And the Saints still have not punted in the game with 11.5 minutes to go in the 4th.
They just outflank the Detroit Lions on that one. They're out here. They're going to crack down with both of these guys and create just a one-on-one on the outside for Darren Sproles. Too quick to be tackled as Bushrod led the way.
From the 37. Thomas. And again, those busted tackles are killing the Lions right now. Got away from Durant. That's a gain of 7. Lions have run 41 plays tonight. The Saints have now run 64 plays.
Well, Justin Durant can't have him any more solid than what he had on this one. I mean, he squares him up, hits him directly, just forgets to wrap his arms. And Pierre Thomas is turning into the hero.
2nd down and a long 2. Breeze going deep and underthrows it, and the pass is incomplete. Aaron Berry was there. Pass intended for Meacham, well underthrown, and it'll be 3rd down and 2.
Yeah, I think that was Nick Fairley. I'm not sure, getting the pressure right up the middle and gets a direct shot on Drew Brees, who can't follow through. But again, the Detroit Lions can't make a play on the ball. Right through the hands of Aaron Berry. You cannot beat the New Orleans Saints unless you can catch the football when you get your opportunities.
And now the Saints are going to take a timeout. 10.5 to go. New Orleans by 3. Saturday night, New Orleans. Saints just took a timeout after Breeze got planted by Fairley, and it's a 3rd down and 2 from the 30. Four-man rush to the outside. Sproles inside the 20, tackled at the 17-yard line by Delmas. Darren Sproles, what a year. Pretty good game as well.
He's just the difference, because you've got to try and cover this guy one-on-one, and it's just almost impossible to do. And again, because the protection is so good, Drew Brees can just stand back there and find the open throwing lane.
Team down in New Orleans or Philadelphia for Sproles at the end. Which team he would sign with? From the 17. Sproles again inside the 10. Touchdown. Darren Sproles wanted the Reggie Bush roll. Reggie didn't. He wanted a bigger roll. Here he comes, and there he goes. Second rushing touchdown of the night for number 43.
Brian De La Puente and Carl Nix doing the combination. Watch De La Puente, though, grabs Corey Williams underneath the shoulder pads. Didn't get detected, as it often does not with interior line play, but clearly you could see Williams upset about it. No call.
Casey for the point after. Saints tonight. The big number would be 4th down conversions. 3 for 3. Sproles to the end zone. Saints by 10. With 9 minutes and 53 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter, and Stafford going back to work from the 20. Schwartz and Cunningham letting the defense have it. Stafford on 1st down with the pressure on. Going deep downfield. It's underthrown. And at the 39-yard line, that's Jabari Greer with the turnover.
Greg Williams is not going to stop dialing up the pressure no matter what. They try the Calvin Johnson lob to the other side to Titus Young, and it fails. Going to come over here. One-on-one, nobody on the other side of the field. Pressure in his face. Stafford's just going to throw it up, and it gets nowhere close. Jabari Greer with the interception. Finally, a little pressure in the face. Looked like Will Smith coming through. And Stafford tried to throw the same ball that he threw to Calvin Johnson on the other side, but Titus Young is not Calvin Johnson.
And that precipitates the "Who dat gonna beat them Saints" chant. From the 39 now. And Breeze under pressure, but gets it away. Thomas out to the 46-yard line. Pierre Thomas.
I'll bet you Pierre Thomas has 30 yards tonight after I thought he was going to be tackled. Some key moments in the game. The other key moments, Al, really are the dropped interception opportunities that the Detroit Lions have had tonight. Aaron Berry, Eric Wright both had legitimate shots at balls and couldn't come up with them.
And the Lion defense unable to stop the Saints on 3 fourth downs. 2nd and 2 from the 47. Give it to Ivory. And Ivory takes the ball to the 50-yard line. And now the Saints so choose, they can go to work on the clock as well as we tick down under 9 minutes.
Guys up front, the big guys, those two guards just digging them out, moving them out away from the ball, and there goes Ivory right in behind them for the first down.
Here's Ivory, and this time he is tackled in the backfield. Dominican Sue stopping him for a loss of 2. It'll be 2nd down and 12. And at the next snap, we'll have less than 8 minutes to play.
Sue with a pretty good help from Corey Williams that time, battling his way right through Carl Nix. But the Detroit Lions can't get the ball back. I mean, it's the simple story of the game. And give Sean Payton credit. He was going for it on 4th down. He was not going to give it back to them, and they simply could not make the plays to get off the field.
Detroit had a big time of possession advantage for the first part of the game, but right now, Saints have had the ball 33 minutes and Detroit 19. And Breeze, as he looks up at the clock, he wanted to milk all of the clock. Did he get the timeout before it expired? No.
Offense, 5-yard penalty remains 2nd down.
Milking that clock all the way down. Then he looked up, tried to call a timeout, but it was after.
Well, a rare mistake now by Drew Brees, so you have to take advantage of it here.
Graham and Sproles tonight.
Good numbers, not overwhelming. Watching Louis Delmas doing a pretty good job on Jimmy Graham coming out of the backfield, but these little chips in protection have really bothered the Lions pass rushers on the outside.
2nd and 17, wide open is Meacham for a kill shot touchdown. 56 yards. And the Saints owner Tom Benson and his family exultant.
Well, Louis Delmas is the safety, and he comes down against Adrian Arrington. He made Delmas believe, Drew Brees did, that he was going to throw it down the middle of the field. And on the outside, Alfonso Smith, believing he had safety help, could only watch.
And now Casey to try to make it a 3-possession game. Halfway through the 4th quarter. 38-21. 28 second half points for the Saints. At the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Some weekend in the Bayou. Logan takes Morstead's kick a yard deep. Brings it out to the 22-yard line, and back we go to the touchdown.
Well, you're going to see Louis Delmas right at the top. The safety is going to get fooled by Drew Brees. Hard pump fake inside. Just their Tampa 2 defense, unless it was some weird derivation of it. Alfonso Smith rightly expecting help, and it wasn't there.
From the 21 on 1st down. Stafford hits Johnson. That's a gain of 8. That's Harper making the tackle along with Patrick Robinson. And we'll have to go no huddle here, down by 17.
It's amazing Calvin Johnson can do what he does with the kind of coverage he faces every single time he comes out to play.
10 catches for him tonight, 182 yards and a touchdown. Stafford slings one sidearm, and that pass is incomplete. Covered by Harper was Johnson that time. 3rd and 1.
Well, Roman Harper runs right underneath this thing. A little sidearm slingshot. Gets underneath the legs of Calvin Johnson, and obviously there's no stopping now. Going for it on 4th down all the way.
Send Young to the left. They send Johnson wide to the right. As Pettigrew shifting over. And it's a slant, and that will be a first down as Titus Young, the Boise State rookie, takes the ball out to the 36. Lions shuffling lineman in. Backus goes out of the game. Corey Hilliard comes in. Backus needs some attention. Precious seconds ticking off the clock down to 6:20. Johnson to the outside. Gets by Harper. And out of bounds he goes. Breaking away from Jabari Greer as well. 11 catches for him now.
New Orleans Saints just playing in deep zones now with their safeties. They're going to allow Calvin Johnson this all he wants. She just can't tackle the guy. There's a stiff arm there, a broken tackle on the first one, and he's exhausted.
11 catches, 244 at Green Bay last week, and all with a sore Achilles heel, which has limited his practice time somewhat. From the 47. That pass is caught, and out of bounds goes Brandon Pettigrew. Gain of about 9, tackled by Harper. Postseason debut for Calvin Johnson tonight, and that's the most yardage gained by a receiver, and eclipses a mark held by Raymond Berry, the great Raymond Berry, in the greatest game ever, 1958, the overtime game between the Colts and the Giants. 2nd and 2. Stafford throwing, open inside the 20-yard line. Burleson making that catch. And the Lions down the field. 5.5 to go. Burleson, 4 catches, Chris.
Trying to jump some routes. There's a couple of Saints players kind of trying to play hero out there. Jumping hard, open for that interception to end it. That time it was Patrick Robinson.
Only a 3-man rush this time, so it gets dumped off to Kevin Smith, and Smith looking to get out of bounds, and he does.
You can just never count out the Detroit Lions, can you? They have been in this situation before, and this number is familiar, 17 points down, but you wonder how much can they do here with just 5 minutes remaining.
2nd down and 3. Make it 2nd and 4. From the 12-yard line. Stafford throws, and that's for Young, incomplete. Good tight coverage on the play by Porter. It'll be 3rd down.
Well, again, this Patrick Robinson has really grown as a player, the leading interceptor on this team, and to some extent I think why, because teams go after him all the time, but tonight he's filled a valuable role staying one-on-one on the backside as they double and triple team Calvin Johnson on the other side.
3rd and 4. Stafford to the end zone, caught. Johnson, touchdown, and that silences this crowd of almost 70,000 as Johnson makes his 12th catch of the night, 210 yards, his 2nd touchdown.
We end up with 3 receivers over here on this side and Calvin Johnson on the other, so Jonathan Vilma's got to turn towards the 3 wide receiver side and end up one-on-one, and again the high throw. They just play above everybody else with Calvin Johnson. And certainly the no helmet-to-helmet contact on the defenseless receiver has helped that. We've seen more high balls thrown to receivers over the middle this year than any other year.
Hansen for the point after. And the Lions still alive with 4:40 left. The Saints lead is 38-28. Saints expecting an onside kick here. 2-possession game, 4:40 to go. Hansen, who's kicked a few of these in his 20-year career. Hands guys are out there for the Saints, and it is Fielded at the 44-yard line by Amaya. Jonathan Amaya is able to make sure that the Saints will take possession of the football.
It's a nice play by Amaya because typically he's supposed to come up and block these guys and allow Marcus Colston, I believe it is, in behind there to make the catch, but it just hit him in the chest, so he went ahead and made the play.
Would have had to have gone 10 yards for the Lions to touch it first. The defenders, of course, can come across that line as Amaya does 9 yards from the spot of the kick, and it gives Breeze the ball at the Detroit 44-yard line. Working the clock now with Ivory. Looking ahead, Detroit has all of its timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. But first things first, they've got to stop the Saints, and the Saints have been unstoppable tonight. 5 touchdowns, 1 field goal, and the only 2 times they didn't score, they lost the ball on fumbles.
Gunther Cunningham knows that he really doesn't have the kind of team that he can blitz with. And at least thus far tonight, that front four just unable to get enough pressure on Drew Brees to even slow them down.
At the snap, we'll have less than 4 minutes. Brees takes the play clock to 3. Going to go to the air. Going to go deep. And it is caught inside the 5-yard line. And it will be down at the 1-yard line. Robert Meacham with Aaron Berry one-on-one, and it will be first down and goal.
Well, first of all, the Lions do try to come with a little bit of a blitz, and it just doesn't matter. The protection's been perfect all night long. And now you watch the safety in the middle of the field as Drew Brees looks back. He just almost collapses in there, does Pavay, and you wonder whether or not this ball was actually in the end zone. He comes down on top of the defensive. Well, it looks like his backside did hit. A little shoulder shake back inside, moved the safety inside and allowed a room down the far side for the deep ball. Boy, they never stop firing, do they?
Brees tonight 466 yards, 33 out of 42. The Lions have to take a timeout and do a little bit of praying. 615 yards of offense for the Saints.
Yeah, and that was after 617 last week.
Brees 400 plus in 2 straight postseason games. Of course, the other one was a loss at Seattle last year in the wild card game. On first down and goal, Brees for his 4th touchdown pass of the night, and it's incomplete. Stephen Tulloch got an arm in. Jimmy Graham, the intended receiver. 2nd down and goal.
Well, and you know it's probably a moot point, but you do stop the clock here, so if there's any chance for the Lions to hold them here, pretty good play by Tulloch, just getting his hand in there at the last second. Remember when Drew Brees was telling us we feel like we can do whatever we want, whenever we want?
I
Starting to believe it, yeah.
2nd and goal, tight formation, into the end zone. Touchdown, Pierre Thomas. .616 yards of offense, and Green Bay threw 45 up on Detroit last week, and the Saints are a point away, an extra point away from 45.
Give a little credit here to backup tight end Michael Higgins as he digs out the Detroit Lions, and it's only right that Pierre Thomas, after the phenomenal runs that he's had tonight, finally gets the cherry on top.
Extra point is good. Saints are 3 minutes and 36 seconds away from breaking into California. Here we come. Well, it figured to be a shootout. It figured to be a track meet. Most yards in a postseason game. 616. Chargers did it back in 1964. You had 1,000 passing yards last week in the game between Green Bay and Detroit. It's the year of the quarterback, isn't it? And the tight end.
And the offenses. I mean, we are going to see in these playoffs some just remarkable quarterback play. It started at the beginning of the year. It has run its course throughout the season, and who knows what we're going to get in the Super Bowl. We may end up with one of these kind of games.
Well, the most interesting thing of all is that everybody for years would say, well, defense wins championships, which we know is not quite 100% accurate, more like about 42. But Green Bay, New England, New Orleans, especially the pass defense, ranking you at the bottom of the league. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And when the top 2 seeds in the playoffs are ranked next to last and last in total defense, you know there's some weird things happening in the league.
And Logan takes a knee in the end zone. Saints in the second half tonight. Remember, they only had 10 points at the half. 5 for 5.
Well, and I go back to Sean Payton's decisions. He understood fully what kind of game this was. And when he was going for it on 4th down on his own end of the field, he was going to win it with his offense. And he accomplished exactly that.
From the 20 with the Who Dat chant. Pettigrew takes it to the 33.
I'll tell you, the other guy we have to give a tip of the cap to is Pete Carmichael, who is now calling the plays for the New Orleans Saints. He took over in that game against Indianapolis, and they put up 62. I was talking to him on the field before the game. Said his dad said, "That's great, but let's wait and see what you do in a competitive situation."
That's answered. And then it's picked off at the 50-yard line by Jabari Greer. And he has a blog in the Times-Picayune, and he'll be blogging about that this week.
Well, a veteran corner against a young quarterback. He's going to settle here and then drop late. Falling underneath, just the simple cover 2 coverage, and you can see Matthew Stafford trying to look off safeties, but it was the underneath corner this time in that look that got him. And for Matthew Stafford, give him credit. A remarkable season, a remarkable year, but just unable to match points with Drew Brees tonight.
Jabari Greer had 1 interception during the regular season, 2 tonight.
I'll tell you, Al, this team is a show in this building. Now, can they do this heading west and taking on the 49ers? That's going to be a different question. The 49ers with the top defense in the NFC among the playoff hopefuls.
They'll go there next weekend and play the 49ers, the number 2 seed at Candlestick Park, and that means the winner of the Giants-Falcons game tomorrow gets a trip to Green Bay. Drew Brees, a record-setting year during the regular season, and those marks will now continue in postseason, at least the second most there. Bernie Kosar, number 1 with 489 yards against the Jets in overtime. So it took a 5th period for Bernie to get there.
I've been around football for a long time, and I tell you, Drew Brees has got it going on this year. I mean, it's almost remarkable to me that he's probably not going to be the most valuable player in the league because of what Aaron Rodgers is doing, but hard to do it much better than he has.
Well, part of the reason was the Packers got off to such a great start and looked like they were headed for an undefeated season. So they were 8-0 at the break, at the halfway mark this year. The Saints were only 5-3, and remember, the last time the Saints lost a game, somehow, inexplicably, they lost to the Rams. 2nd and 8. Here's Ivory. We talked to Sean Payton about it a couple of weeks ago, and Payton said, you know, it's the worst coaching job I've done in 6 years. He said, but it may turn out to be the best thing that happens to us. That was a wake-up call.
Well, and plus they changed their protections after that game. That's when they started going to these double wings and chips and nudges on the outside to help these 2 tackles. And because of that, the sacks went down by half for Drew Brees. So now you get Drew Brees standing behind 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen with help on either side. Gunther Cunningham, the Lions defensive coordinator, before the game was telling me, because it's almost impossible to get there. You just have to sort of rely on coverage and getting a push up the middle, which really the Lions couldn't get.
And great receivers and a great running game. He throws a wobbly duck that's incomplete, but a flag is thrown, intended for Colston and covered by Berry. And it's going to go against Berry.
Well, Berry just never got his head turned around.
Pass interference, defense number 32. Automatic first down.
We'll see. The receiver has every right to come back through the defensive back to the ball, and once Berry starts to push on him, it's just an automatic call.
So first and goal now from the 7-yard line. And a whistle as Breeze trips. A little skirmish here.
Number 73. 5-yard penalty remains first down.
Pro Bowling right guard Jari Evans.
Boy, I tell you, the state of Louisiana has a chance to pull off a remarkable quinella, don't they? If the Saints could run through and win a Super Bowl and LSU could win a national championship in this building.
That's LSU's band, in fact. They are here and ready for action to take on the Crimson Tide on Monday night for the national championship. Ivory. And Ivory chugging all the way down to the 2-yard line, and they will not have to run another play before the 2-minute warning. Well, 73 points in the game. I didn't think we'd see more than 59.5 tonight. But you never know.
You knew what I thought.
Right.
Well, I tell you, I don't know exactly what the adjustments were at halftime for the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton, but they were unstoppable in the second half. Drew Carmichael, who has really come out of nowhere. Drew Brees was telling us, he goes, I'm proud of that guy. He said, I knew him when he was sort of the quality control guy with San Diego. He's coming here and calling the plays, and we have taken off.
Well, Malibu, Kelly Hayes and George Hill knew we'd see more than 70 tonight. 2-minute warning, 45-28, New Orleans. And 4 weeks from tomorrow, the Lombardi Trophy will be awarded at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Under the roof. Meanwhile, the Saints here will just be content to run out the clock. There'll be no piling on. And the Detroit Lions, well, it will end in frustrating fashion here, but for the Lions, to the playoffs for the first time since '99. You got that guy at 23 years old as the quarterback. You got Calvin Johnson, who's just a monster. They hope to get their running game back next year. Keep the guys healthy.
Yeah, and they're excited about their running game with Mikel LaShore, who was injured, Javid Best, both coming back. But this is a team, when you look around, you would definitely like to own a little stock in the Detroit Lions because they have some of the best young talent in the business.
Yeah, it's a team on the rise. There's no question. Occasionally a team will get to postseason play, and you'll kind of feel this is their time, this is their window. But with Detroit, you feel like it's really going to come in the next couple of years.
Well, and for the New Orleans Saints a year ago, they go up to Seattle and lose that game because they had nobody left at the running back position. And really, the Detroit Lions, it reminds me a little bit of that situation. Coming in here tonight, the difference was the Saints could run the football and set up some of that play action passing game where it was much tougher for Detroit to try and do it.
And that kneel down will end the game. 626 yards for the Saints. Total offense in the game is 1,038 yards. And the Detroit Lions see their season end at 7 straight playoff losses for Detroit. But as we say, the future looks pretty bright in Motown.
It's pretty bright in New Orleans, too.
Yeah, I would say. This window is wide open now for the Saints. And may be for a while, too. 45-28, San Francisco. Here they come. Saints beat the Lions in New Orleans.